Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? I'm not very well. I've just had about 4 or 5 days off with a shocking cough. I went on holiday in March. Had a shocking holiday. Classic Esther Ranson case. The hotel was half shut, access to the beach blocked, beach bar shut, drilling construction noise all day. Complained to Chewy, they wouldn't entertain a refund. Then decided to put through a Section 75 claim against MasterCard, which is why I bought the holiday on the MasterCard, because they say you can always, they're jointly liable. Didn't hear anything for 3 months. Rang up and said, what's going on with my Section 75 claim? First woman said, it's been turned down because you didn't reject the hotel. And I said we couldn't reject the hotel because when we went there and we complained, they said we couldn't change hotels, and by then they hadn't told us in advance there was building work there. So she said, well, I'm sorry, but it's too late. It's been rejected anyway, so that's the outcome. So I said, well, you got to send me a copy of the outcome letter, because they said they sent it to me in June and I haven't had anything. I know they're lying. So then she said, oh yeah, you'll get that in 10-15 days, which means 2-3 weeks, doesn't it? So I wait another 3 weeks and then ring up again yesterday. Where's the letter that you promised you'd send me telling me my Section 75 claim had been rejected? Oh no, sir, your Section 75 claim wasn't rejected. It wasn't even considered. It wasn't accepted. So I'm like, really? This is news. This is different news. So I'm like, but rest assured, sir, we'll send you a copy of the letter. Well, I need a copy of this letter because buoyed by my success in the small claim court, and this is also a small claim, it's only 690 quid. I'm going to obviously take MasterCard to small claims and get my 690 quid back. So, yes, sir, rest assured. I said, look, 3 weeks ago I was talking to a very similar young lady who was telling me, rest assured, I'd get the letter in 10-15 days. And I shouldn't have rested assured at all because nothing's happened. Oh, leave it with me, 24-48 hours. Yeah. It's all right, so that's that going on, right? In the meantime, I'm sick, still sick. The problem with being sick is not that you can't drag yourself to work, because I can. I can drag myself to work, but people don't like you being sick at work. And not only that, you can't think straight. That's half of the trouble, right? Half of the trouble. I have already walked, got in the car, put my briefcase down, got in the car, nearly driven off without my briefcase. That's why you shouldn't work with a head cold. I crashed my car in London because I had a head cold, and I tried to nip round a lorry and I cut it too fine, and I took all the skin off the outside panels of my door. And it seemed to me that that's the sort of accident that I might have had if I'd been driving drunk. So I think a head cold is equivalent to about 3 or 4 pints of lager when you're driving. Not that applies to me now, of course. Whoops. Anyway, where was I? Changing the subject quickly. So I went along for a blood test. I had some partial gastrectomy, that's right, yeah. My stomach was too big, so they cut it down a bit. It's the least invasive surgery you can have. So anyway, they said every year you've got to have a check-up, weight, recorded, blood tests, etc. That was about 10 years ago, and sort of, they got out of the habit of asking me to go along, and I got out of the habit of agreeing. And might have been the other way round. Anyway, I'm going to shift along quickly because I've got a lot to get through. So anyway, they ring up this. If you ever read a book, read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, because I'll tell you, you'll get on so much better with people after you've read that book. You're like, and they give the example of a woman who comes back and her husband's at home. She hangs up the car keys and she says, "Oh, you'll never guess what happened to me today. I took the car out and first of all I bumped into Mrs. So-and-so and she told me this. And then I decided to go down Tesco's because I'd forgotten that and they got a special deal on this. And then I was going down the bypass and by then the husband will be shouting at his wife saying, what's happened? Have you crashed the car? Have you killed someone? What's the punchline? Let's get to the punchline." And the moral of that story is the women, the story is the fun. They like the storytelling element of anything that's happened to them. That's why they sit around parties and in social events talking about stuff that is basically what men would regard as nothing, but which they regard as highly important. And it's basically, where the berries are. If you want to collect the berries, where the berries are. And men are the opposite. Men don't mind a story as long as they know where it's going. So if, a woman comes in and she needs to say, "Look, don't worry, I haven't crashed the car or anything, but I did run into that one of your old girlfriends or something, and this is how it happened." And the man will be happy with a story like that, but he won't be happy with a story that goes on and doesn't have a punchline. So this doctor's a bloke, and I don't know, I suppose he's been on some sort of course. They all must go on a course on how to break bad news to people. So, and because a lot of you are men, I'm going to tell you straight away, I've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, of which I can hear you laughing and saying, "Well, what do you expect, you fat?" And the answer is, I didn't expect anything else, don't you worry. I knew I was a target for the old diabetes, and the heart disease, and the stroke like my dad had, and I'm a target for everything, me. Let me just defrost the windscreen a bit. So yeah, when you get to 65, something has to pack up, doesn't it? And with me, it was my pancreas. Anyway, it hasn't packed up seriously. I've just had one positive HB reading, and now they don't even do anything. They don't do anything. They get you an appointment with a diabetes nurse who's going to do all sorts of other stuff like check my toes aren't falling off and check I'm not going blind. And quite rightly named the junction of death. But she can't do it for over a month. So this is the sort of lightning fast care you get on the NHS when you're diagnosed with a new systemic disorder. So I've got myself a blood testing kit, and then I told him I can't get my blood glucose down below 8. It's supposed to be 4 to 7. I can't, if I eat 2 scrambled eggs and a carrot, it won't go down below 8. So But they said, have patience, Padawan. Don't ring us again. So, but you know, it's. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the detail of it because it's unlikely to happen to you, or it's already happened to you. In which case, you'll know all this anyway. But you just don't know. You don't know what you can do. You know, I'm due to go on holiday in January. I mean, normally my holiday routine would be going out, having a fry up in the morning, having a nice walk along the beach, goes in the plus column, and then 4 o'clock down the local bar for 4 pints of really crappy beer, goes in the minus column, then another fry up, minus column, down the club, unspecified number of extra beers, minus column. I mean, how the hell do I control my diabetes? Bearing in mind I was diagnosed over the phone, right? This is not sophisticated healthcare here, right? This is, they say that AI is going to get better at humans at diagnosing. When you consider how crap the humans are, I can see why they're saying that. I had this random blood test, they weren't even looking specifically for diabetes. It was discovered as an incidental finding, because now they can do like 50 tests on one little bit of blood. And so the doctor rings me up, and because he hasn't read the book, he's like, well, this is okay, and that's okay, and this is fine, and yes, that's all fine and fine. I'm like, okay, mate, I know. You're working up to something there, you know? You're like, what else can I say? Before I give him the life-shattering bad news. And then he said, but, and I thought, oh, thank God. He's finally going to muster up the courage to say it. He said, but your diabetes marker has come in. 3 alarm bells ringing. So I'm like, fine. He said, but you know, it's not the all and end all of everything. It's he says it's based on your blood cells, and he said your blood cells change every 3 months. So if you wait 3 months, you get another entry. You get a free entry to the diabetes lottery. And you might get a different set of numbers come up. So I said, well, it would explain why I'm thirsty all day. He goes, thirsty all day, eh? Yeah. So I said, yeah. He said, yeah, well, he says, I suppose that would be enough to justify a diagnosis of diabetes. High HB reading plus thirsty all day. That does it, right? Over the phone. So I felt like saying to him, yeah, I'd explain why I've gone blind and all my toes have fallen off. And just see what he would have said. Because it's like, he doesn't know. He knows fuck all. I'm diagnosing it. He's just listening to me over the phone. It's not like he can look through the phone and see. He's not examining me. I've never heard of the bloke before. I've never ever seen him. He's just a nameless person who might be a doctor. Probably is, but you've got no guarantee. You know, these days you've got all sorts of prescribing clinicians and everything. And so and why do they have to call the diabetes test and HbS1c or something? Why do they call it an HB test? Why can't they leave hepatitis with the HB, prefix, and call it something else? If he says that you've failed your HB test, I for a minute there, I thought I'd picked up hepatitis. But anyway, that's mine. So, finding out, getting a diagnosis like that, in many ways, I'm going to finish on a positive note. Because people think that getting a diagnosis of diabetes means that your life's going to change for the worse. Whereas in fact, that is actually not what happens. What happens is your life changes for the better. You will have been an uncontrolled diabetic. You will have been constantly thirsty. Constantly getting up and going to the toilet in the night. Constantly with a background headache. Constantly your joints aching like you've got rheumatoid arthritis all the time. And then they put you on one metformin tablet a day, and all of a sudden you feel 5 years younger. You're like, oh my God, And not only that, you get a normal appetite back again. You don't feel the need to constantly eat all the time. You can sort of just have 3 meals a day. You're not ill around food anymore. So you sleep better. So it is good. I would, if any of you have got these symptoms, and I know, I went to medical school, there's symptoms of, hate, smelling urine and all that. You can forget that old twaddle. I would say being thirsty all day and never really being able to drink enough, going to the toilet 2 or 3 times during the night, and having a total rheumatoid arthritis where you can't turn to scratch your back, and generally feeling really, really tired and lethargic. You get up and goes, got up and gone. Think about the possibility of just getting type 2 diabetes eliminated as a cause of that, which is dead easy. It's just a simple blood test. So now, your life changes, obviously. You do. I'm not. I know the current generation, especially during COVID, where they're very much of the opinion that they were going to live forever. They see it as their right to live forever. When COVID came along, they demanded that the government produce a magic cure that dealt with COVID and allowed them not to die. They denied their obligation to die at any point. So, I'm not of that generation. I know, especially I've been to medical school, that about 1 billion things have to go absolutely perfectly in my body every day. The Krebs Cycle, what's that all about? I had a poster on the wall when I was a medical student of the Krebs Cycle, and everybody told me that it was just the most amazing thing, which I accept, it is. It's like, the formula for dynamite or the printing press. It's the discovery of the Krebs cycle was just unbelievable. Ask me to explain it, and I just can't. The Krebs cycle is all I ever got out of the Krebs cycle was that you start off with something, it goes round in a circle, and then you end up back with what you started, which is apparently a good idea because you need more of it to go round the cycle again. It's a bit like ATP breaking down into ADP and then going back up into ATP. So, great. Biology, fantastic subject, never my strong point. So, my Krebs cycle has been, I sort of ignore it, I just take it for granted. I feel like I took my pancreas for granted, At 60, certainly 65, parts of your body, whole systems, start packing up their stuff. They start rolling up the picnic blanket and putting their stuff away and saying, right, it's been good fun while it lasted, but I'm packing up now. And you're like, what? What? You don't go. Hey, it's too early. We got loads of stuff we could still do. And they're like, well, it's been over, it's been fun, but I don't have it in me to carry on working perfectly. You'll still have your heart still working and your lungs are still working and your brain's still working, and so, and all your musculoskeletal system for the most part is still working, and you'll live without a pancreas. It's pancreas, isn't it? Oh dear. No, sooner or later something goes wrong. You can't. I don't expect to live to be 200 years old. I don't. In fact, once you get past it, I'm getting very philosophical now. I apologise for that, but there are times when it's appropriate, and I think now is such a time. I think my mother always, when she was old, she was like 65, 70. And I used to say to her, what's it like being 65? And she said, well, honestly, it's the same as being 35. She said, you're a bit slower. You sleep a bit more, but you're still, you don't wake up every morning and think, oh my God, I'm 65. And nor do I. You don't. You just don't. I don't feel like I'm 35, but I don't mentally. I'm no worse or better than I was when I was 35. But you do get a bit of maudlin and you start thinking to yourself, well, when I go, my Mrs. Angry and I have had a long-standing discussion about which one of us is going to go first. And we're both of the opinion that we personally are going to go before the other one. I'm like, no, I'm look at me, I'm going to drop dead of a heart attack. You're a woman. Women historically live a lot longer than men. You'll be around a long time after me. And she's like, no, I'm a lifelong smoker. There's no way I'm going to outlive you. I'll get pneumonia every winter, The pneumonia's going to get me. You're still working. You're still fairly. You're out and about around the farm. You're still relatively fit. So one of us is going to win the bet, but we don't know who. And it's not much of a bet because no one's going to pay it. But you start to think, you know, what is it? What's going to get you? What's the old Grim Reaper? He's out there. He's lurking around some corner. It'd be nice to know where he is and what he's got in store. But nobody ever knows that, do they? Oh, it's a bird decided to fly along with us. That's the old Grim Reaper. That's a crow, that is. He's told me he's coming for me. Anyway, so if that's the worst he can do, then I'm afraid he's going to have to do a bit better than that. Anyway, what I was going to do is talk to you about Bitcoin, because if you're like me and money is dear to your heart, you'll want to know what's going on, because Bitcoin has just turned $100,000, but I haven't got any time to do it, so I'll probably do it on the way home. All right, so keep listening. Bye.